We are going to try something new today together, and that is starting our seeds in this brick. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to take this brick and supposedly, you know those things we play with as kids, like those little magic sponges, you know, where you'd buy these little things and they come in like a bubblegum machine and then you put water in them and they expand. Well, we get to do that as adults now, but for gardening. So I'm excited. This brick, it weighs a pound, it says, and this is made of Coco Coir, which is basically ground up, mushed up coconut shells. And it's becoming really well known as an alternative to peat. So if you're not familiar with peat is from peat bogs. And my understanding, I'm sure there's way more to it, but they're mostly up in Canada. And so much of our gardening supplies rely on peat, at least they have over the last few decades. And that's becoming more and more known as an regenerative resource, unsustainable resource. So they mine the peat off of the bogs, and basically we're taking it from the bogs faster than it is replenishing itself. So in the gardening world, we're all looking for ways that we can start our seeds, grow our plants without having to use peat, and this is one of those things that people are experimenting with. Now, everybody likes to debate and, you know, like get into fights about things about gardening on the internet. So you'll find plenty of people who don't think that using coconut coir or Coco Coir is a good alternative. But we're going to test it out and see how it works this season. And I'm going to show you what this little brick can turn into. So I'm just going to unwrap this. The directions are very clear on here. This is from Burpee. And it says it expands to 8 quarts in 2 minutes. So we are literally going to time it and see if that is for true. It says it's 100% biodegradable, made from plants. And it just says I've got to add about 4.5 quarts of water and watch as this expands in 2 minutes. And then use as needed and store any unused seed starting formula in a sealed container. So right off the bat, I can tell you one of the reasons why I like this is because of the minimal packaging. In general, when you're buying seed starting mix and things like that, like if you're buying a bag, you have to buy a much bigger container, and there's a lot more, one-use plastic involved in the whole process. This just has this tiny little wrap on it, much like a cheese wrap, and then you're done, and then you just have this. You don't have this big bag that you have to deal with, so I'm very excited about that. So now we're going to take the water. They say to do it in a bucket. I wanted to do it in this tray so that you can see the process. So we're just going to pray that it doesn't overflow the tray because that would be embarrassing. So I'm just going to take my nice little hose here. I filled it up with water, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to, okay, 4 quarts is a gallon, am I right? So I think this thing is about 5 gallons. So I probably should have measured to be more exact of what 4 quarts is. But I'm just going to kind of wing it and hope that I've poured about a gallon. I don't know why they said pour a gallon, why they didn't say pour a gallon. They like to keep it confusing. So I think this thing holds 3 or 5 gallons. One or the other. So we're getting there, right? All right, so we're going to start the timer when I stop pouring, and then we're just going to see what happens. Now, I think if you did it in a bucket, it would be 100% submerged. So what I'm going to do for that is just flip it over. You can see how it's already expanding. This is so exciting. Okay, so I got the timer. I'm going to flip this thing over. Oh, wow. You can already see how it's starting to come out. So let's see what happens. So I'm just going to kind of count down with my watch to see 2 minutes and see how much of it expands. So when you're starting seeds, you do not need nutrient-rich soil. You don't need compost. You don't need a lot of fertilizer. You don't need any fertilizer. When you're starting seeds, you really just need a medium. You just need like a vehicle for the seeds to absorb water and to absorb light. Those are the 2 main things that it needs in the first few days of Those are the first things you need in the first few days of germinating. So a lot of people will add a lot of things to their seeds thinking that their seeds need food, and all their food is inside of the, I think it's called the cotyledon or cotyledon. I gotta turn this here so y'all can see this little magic happening. It's like splitting and spreading. This is really, really cool. I have never done this before, and I'm just having the time of my life. Also, if you are a teacher or you have children in your life, I think this would be a very cool thing to do with kids indoors this winter. Just do a little Coco Coir, like instead of buying those little sponges and things from the gumball machine, just buy this, and then you can call yourself gardening. Look at this. It's splitting. This is so cool. I'm so entertained. All right, I'm going to flip it and see if I can keep the process going. Let's roll those things over there and see if they keep expanding. All right, so we're still going. Let's see. I'm at 1.5 minutes. I think I might need more water. What do you think? I think it needs more water. All right, here we go. A little bit more water. It looks like I soaked up all the water. So when you do this at home, be more exact with your measurements than I am. I'll be more exact in my next round to figure out what 4 quarts is. Okay, I don't want it to be too soaked because, oh look, you can already see it growing. Oh, that's so cool. I love it. So this should make it possible for you to do about 2 trays of plants or of seeds, I think. I'm going to kind of play around with this and see what the consistency is like. So like I said, you don't want it to be too wet because you don't have any more medium than just this brick. So I think it'd be better to underwater it at first than over. And then you can slowly add more. Getting it on myself. All right. This is pretty cool. So we are just past 2 minutes here. So I think they were pretty true to their word. I think probably if I had done the right amount of water and put it in a bucket like they said, it probably would be all done. So I really like this consistency. It feels really nice. It feels honestly very similar to the seed starting mix. It's got like some fibrous things in there, but also feels nice, light, and fluffy. So it's going to be really fun to start seeds in this mixture and see how this works as an alternative to the typical seed starting mix. All right, so stay tuned to see the whole process of how we grow plants from seed in this Coco Coir, and get yourself a cocoa brick and try it out too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.